to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans by fans. If you are a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below, and please consider subscribing to the channel with Calvin and I. Want to give a quick shout out to Patrick. I see you here in the chat, and everyone else that's watching. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Well, Calvin, it's official. We have finally made it to NBA free agency. It's kind of weird timing for us here in Hawaii, right? Because it's like halfway through the day. I know at noon, my phone started going off today with just messages, notifications, deals happening. The Kings get Malik Monk. Donte DiVincenzo potentially is not returning, and Damian Jones is out. Welcome in, everybody. Calvin, let's hear your first thoughts today.
Well, it's always the frenzy, right? As soon as the official moratorium opens up, there are, deals that even though they're not official, they've already been worked out even, at 24 to 48 hours before this.
Oh yeah.
Now they just get announced. And so it's definitely been an exciting day, as it always is. However, this one feels a little bit bigger for other reasons outside of the Sacramento Kings, which we'll talk about a little bit here. But the Kings are definitely making moves. You can argue whether they're good or bad, but they're making moves.
Yeah, they are definitely making moves. Let's talk about the first deal, or the only real official deal right now, and that is Malik Monk signing a 2-year, $19 million contract with the Sacramento Kings. We heard just a few days ago that he was willing to take less to stay with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. He chose his old buddy in De'Aaron Fox, and he's here in Sacramento. I know everything can't be official, I believe, until the 4th or the 5th of July. So as of right now, Malik Monk is joining the Sacramento Kings. What are your thoughts for this deal?
I'm mixed on it. I think that signing a player like Malik Monk is a good move for Sacramento. He brings a lot of things to the table that this team needs: athleticism, shooting, first and foremost, 100%.
Yep.
However, I don't know. I have this thing in the back of my head that says, I mean, they missed out on Oladipo, right? Because he's going back to Miami.
Yep.
But personally,
missed out.
Well, yeah, whatever you want to say. I mean, they couldn't sign him, whether they tried to or not. But I am still kind of toying back and forth with whether or not I would have liked somebody like Oladipo better than Malik Monk.
Yeah.
I mean, again, what this team needs is more talent, more shooting, but what they really need is to be better on defense. So you're not going to re-sign or even offer a qualifying offer to your second best defensive guard from last year. I would want to put De'Aaron Fox in that top two, but the consistency hasn't been there yet for me. So probably your second best defensive guard there, a guy that can also shoot from the outside. You're just going to let him walk, and then you don't go out and try to sign another bigger guard that can play defense. Like at the size of the backcourt is not necessarily an issue, I think, if you have somebody like DiVincenzo or even a Davion Mitchell that is good enough defensively to guard bigger players or guard up, as they like to say, right?
Yeah.
Malik Monk is not really that guy. So while there's a lot to like about it from an offensive standpoint, I don't think the team is getting any better on defense, and that's a big red flag for me.
Okay. So you've laid out the concerns. I see that. I absolutely love this deal. I love it a lot. I've been talking about Malik Monk for a long time. I know he was the prized off-season acquisition last season. I think we can agree that Christian Wood was the season before that. The dude has played incredibly well. I actually wanted the Kings to draft him with the number 10 overall pick. They took Zach Collins instead, ended up trading that. But I see everybody here in the chat. Malik Monk's health versus Victor Oladipo's health.
That's a great point.
Is a huge key to this thing for me. If the Kings want to be consistent here, you got to play games. You got to be on the court. Another thing for me that's really huge in this deal is the fact that Monk and Fox played together in college, right? Like,
yeah,
that was our main concern at the end of last season, and actually all of last season, right? We're like, does this team have chemistry? What's going on here? What's the culture? What does it really look like? Then they made all the trades, and then the excuses were, well, they haven't played together for very long, and Justin Holiday is starting because he has chemistry with Sabonis and all this stuff. Well, I think Monk and Fox have great chemistry. Yes, they haven't played together for 5 seasons or so, but they played together in college. They're friends. Obviously, if Malik Monk is signing with Sacramento, this has something to do with De'Aaron Fox, right?
Oh, I think it has more than something.
So for me, I love the chemistry. I love the fit. I love the spacing of the floor. I think that's something that was missing last season. And then, just to touch more on Malik Monk here, the dude has gotten better every single year that he's been in the league. That's 5 years in a row. He's increased his scoring. He's increased his rebounding, his assists, his steals, his blocks. What more can you really ask for?
That's true. That's true. And again, I'm just kind of looking at the bigger picture here. It's not that I am not happy that the Kings signed Malik Monk. Like I said before, I think there are a lot of good things about that. And the biggest winner of this whole thing, I would say, is De'Aaron Fox.
Yep. Because
over the past couple of years, every move that the Kings have made while they were trying to make the team better, it wasn't necessarily the best thing for De'Aaron Fox or something that would make him really happy or instill confidence in him or, show him that this is your team and we're, handing the keys of the franchise to you. They've completely reversed that in the span of one offseason. Or not even an offseason. Trade deadline. Yeah. Exactly, right? Yep. They're doing everything that you would expect De'Aaron Fox to want and be happy about. So if he is extra motivated or extra happy going into training camp and the offseason, and that allows him to start the year off playing the same way he finished last season playing, then that is a big, big win for Sacramento ultimately.
Yeah. And not even to mention, Oladipo signed, I think, for $11 million, and this is 2 years for 19. So Monk was even a discount on top of Oladipo. I absolutely love this move. I think it's huge. I want to hear from you guys in the chat what you guys think. If you like Oladipo, if you like Monk, who you think they should have signed. And I want to hear about your thoughts on Calvin's point on the fit offensively and defensively with all these new guys. I guess we can kind of roll right into the next point here, and that's Donte DiVincenzo was not offered a qualifying offer. So he is effectively a free agent here. And I think this Malik Monk signing most likely signals that he will not be returning to Sacramento. We saw what happened to Lou Dort. They declined the team option, and he's like, I'm staying, and re-signs right away. I don't think we're going to see the same thing with Donte DiVincenzo. I heard the Celtics are potentially interested in him. Interesting fit there. But what are your thoughts on DiVincenzo? I know we talked about it just a few days ago, the difference between a Monk and a DiVincenzo, which was really funny, right? We debated this exact topic, but now it's real. So what are you thinking here?
Well, I'm still thinking the same thing I thought before today started and before I woke up, in that these are baby steps. Like the job is not even anywhere close to done.
Yep.
It's good to be excited about Malik Monk. Again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm really, really down on this or disagreeing with the move. I am, but I still am looking at it from the bigger perspective, the bigger picture. We still don't know who's going to be the starting power forward on day one, whether they're going to try to make a move for somebody like John Collins. They've now lost out on Damian Jones and DiVincenzo, two guys I would have loved to have seen them re-sign this offseason. So there's a lot more questions to answer still for me.
I know you talk about the defense and all that, but Monk versus DiVincenzo. Is that an upgrade? Because
it's an upgrade.
Monk is a starter, right? We can all agree that he's a starting shooting guard, right? And DiVincenzo, he started some with the Bucks, was injured, didn't start throughout their playoff run, and didn't start much for the Kings last season. So I view this as an upgrade.
I view it as an upgrade offensively, especially shooting.
Yeah.
But in terms of the total package, I mean, DiVincenzo's a better defender. He's a better rebounder.
Much better rebounder.
He didn't shoot maybe as well as you would have liked him to shoot in Sacramento, but he's still known to be a good shooter overall. So it's interesting, and I'm seeing here Keita over Jones. I don't. You can like what Keita brings potentially, but the guy has not really been given long enough of a chance to play or enough. We haven't seen him enough, I think, to make that determination already. His potential might be higher right now, but whether he reaches that or not, it's still very much a question mark, I would say.
And we haven't seen that much of Jones either.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we've seen definitely a lot more of him than Keita. So it's, again, I'm just, I guess, playing a little devil's advocate here, but also just realizing that, or not trying to get too high right now. They signed Malik Monk, and that is a good thing.
Yeah.
But does that make them alone a playoff team next year? I'm not going to make that prediction right now. So,
yeah. Well, you mentioned Jones, and I see Sass is mentioning Jones here in the chat. It's official. Damian Jones does sign a 2-year deal with the LA Lakers, a team that he's played on previously. I don't see the amount here. I don't know if that's fully disclosed yet. But it looks like we're basically swapping Malik Monk for Damian Jones. Mm-hmm. If you were to ask me,
swapping him for DiVincenzo, I would say.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to tell me last year at the trade deadline that I had an opportunity to trade Damian Jones to the Lakers for Malik Monk, I'd do it. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on Jones not re-signing with the Kings? What does this mean for Keita? What does this mean for the rest of the free agents? Like, did the Kings go after another rim protector?
Well, to me, it's more so what it means for Rashaan Holmes. I think this signifies that he's definitely remaining with the team. And I don't know if that was option number one for Sacramento. I feel like maybe they were searching for what deals could be out there for Rashaan Holmes, and maybe they didn't like any of those. So in that regard, you probably decide in order to save money so that we can go after other guys like Malik Monk or Oladipo or whoever it is, we'll just let Damian Jones go because we know we still have Rashaan Holmes. We still have Keita here if we can, bring him back. And the center position was already more solidified than perhaps shooting guard or power forward. Not necessarily because they didn't have those positional players on their roster, but it was a bigger question mark of who was going to be the starter, who would play more, all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely troublesome for the Kings, in my opinion, losing a guy like that. But they do have Alex Len still on the roster. They do have some other guys. We lost it there. There we go. Thank you, Calvin, for catching that and bringing us back to life. We're back. We're here. The lights were out. But anyways, yes, I think it's interesting. Alex Len is still on the roster, so he will probably play backup center at this point. And then you mentioned Rashaan Holmes. We still don't know what's going to happen to him. Monty said in his press conference at the end of the season that he's hoping and planning on Rashaan Holmes returning next season. Of course somebody would say that, right?
Sure.
However, he's done everything he's told us, right? Like,
yes,
Monty has done everything. Did he ever say that Tyrese Halliburton was not tradable or wasn't going to be traded? I don't think he ever said that. He said he's drafting best available. He's done that. He said he's going to be patient. He did that. He said he's going to be aggressive. He's been that. So we have every reason to believe him, right?
Yeah.
But I still feel like Rashaan Holmes is going to be involved in maybe a Harrison Barnes trade. They're still talking about John Collins. So I don't know. I also want to mention the big name that we've been talking about all day, and that's Kevin Durant. What happens with him? I heard that the Sixers have tried to recruit him, so maybe the Kings could be used to facilitate maybe a 3-team deal and something like that. Not a lot of teams have assets, cap space.
I mean, let's be real here. Kevin Durant's not accepting a trade to the Sacramento Kings.
No, I'm not saying to Sacramento. I'm just saying to help facilitate a deal. Like maybe Tobias Harris comes to Sacramento. Kevin Durant goes to the Sixers. And I also want to say he could come to Sacramento. It's a chance.
No chance.
No chance at all?
No chance. You really think Kevin Durant is going to go to a team that isn't ready to win a championship next year?
Does he have a choice?
Yes, he absolutely has a choice. Just like Anthony Davis had a choice. Just like, all of these guys. Kyrie has a choice, even though it seemed like he had 0 options left. He's pretty much going to force his way to the Lakers because they command that power, that type of power.
Okay. Well, while we're on the subject, where do you think KD will end up?
It's going to be with a team that is already right now, heavily considered to be one of the favorites in either the East or the West. Philadelphia and Miami seem like the two best or most likely scenarios in the East for me. I still think you don't rule out the Lakers, as crazy as it sounds. They are going to try to put together a deal that maybe gets them both Durant and Irving, which would be insane. But, yeah, I mean, it's got to be one of those teams.
I mean, the Nets have been pretty adamant. They said we're going to trade him to the best package we get. Sixers said the same thing about Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons said he wanted to come to the West Coast. He ends up in Brooklyn. So,
again, another championship contending team.
It is possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah. If you're not one of those top, 5 to 6, maybe even 8 teams in the league, you have so much work cut out for. I mean, you just told me what you were going to offer if you were the Kings. 7 first-round picks.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, that's just absurd to think that anybody would even consider that offer.
Yeah, it sounds like a Paul George to the Clippers trade.
I mean, that blows the Paul George trade out of the water.
Yeah.
There weren't 7 draft picks involved in that. And who knows, if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you get that offer, do you even contemplate that? I don't know.
What do you think about Anthony Davis for KD?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
For both teams?
Well, yeah, for both teams. I mean, if you're the Nets, obviously everybody is concerned about Anthony Davis's health, first and foremost. But can you name a better player that you would get in return for Kevin Durant if he is healthy?
Not really.
Not really, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you're probably going to get a draft pick or 2.
Yeah. But does KD want to go to the Lakers?
I don't know.
Now,
KD wants to play for a winning team. Not just a winning team, but a team that's got a chance to win a championship.
The Nets have a chance to win a championship. But he doesn't want to play with the headache that is Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah.
He played with that headache in Oklahoma City in Russell Westbrook. Does he really want to go to the Lakers to play with Westbrook again? Or would he rather just get out of that situation?
I think if KD is going to the Lakers, Kyrie Irving is going with him. So I don't see there being another shot here at just – it's either Kyrie goes there by himself or they both go.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. That is very, very interesting. The NBA shouldn't allow Lakers to get KD and Kyrie. LeBron wouldn't let that happen because they colluded together to come to L.A. What's up, Alex? Good to see you here. What's your thoughts on Monk? I love Monk, man. I've been wanting him to be in Sacramento for 5 years, so I'm very, very happy with the deal. Calvin's a little concerned about the defensive end of the floor, and I'm not.
Yeah, I'm concerned that they still have their work cut out for them. This offseason was all about acquiring talent, making the team better, and making a playoff push. And so far, while the moves have been good, to me, I need to see more in order to feel confident that they're in that neighborhood.
Yes, and I don't think the Malik Monk deal ate up all the rest of the salary cap space for the Kings, so I think they still have a little bit of space there. They updated it. I think it's like, $123 million is the salary cap, and then next year I think it's going to jump up to like 150 or something like that. So definitely a lot more room to spend next season, and that could be why we see guys like Victor Oladipo signing a 1-year contract to return and maybe like rebuild their value. Patrick wants to bring back Seth Curry to the Kings. I'd be happy to do that. He's still under contract with the Nets. I don't know what you're going to give up to bring him in, but
the Kings are going to have like 8 guards on their roster, and none of them are taller than 6'4".
That's funny. Let's talk a little bit about the John Collins situation, because, you know, I see his name mentioned. The Kings are still in the race for John Collins, but they're not the favorites anymore. Do you think he'll end up here in Sacramento? Because for me, I feel like that's the next domino that needs to fall if I'm the Kings, right? Like, you got your shooting guard in Malik Monk. You got to figure out the 4/3 position. We brought in Keegan Murray. I don't know if him and Barnes is the future when Barnes is like on a 1-year deal. Maybe I want to trade for Collins, Fox, Monk, Murray, Collins, and Sabonis. That sounds like a pretty good starting 5, but it all hinges on the rookie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, they took him number 4 overall, so they're going to expect a lot out of him, whether or not they acquire somebody like John Collins or not. If you plan on taking the next step and becoming a better team, a lot is going to hinge on him for sure.
And we've already seen Atlanta be aggressive this offseason. They just acquired an all-star in Jonte Murray from the Spurs. When that happened, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, why is this guy leaving the Spurs? I dug a little bit deeper, and I saw the stuff he was posting on social media about wanting to go to Atlanta and all this stuff. So maybe the Spurs made his wish come true. But what do you think?
There's also a lot of rumors coming out that San Antonio is already in full tank mode.
I could see that.
For big man Victor, I don't know how to say his last name, Wambayama or something like that.
Not your guy, Imani Bates?
He's not going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. It's definitely going to be the dude from France. Yeah, they're calling him one of the best draft prospects in the last 10 years.
Interesting. We'll see if the Thunder decide to finally trade all their picks for the number 1 pick or something like that. But back to John Collins, what do you think is going to ultimately happen with him? He's not going to be with the Hawks next season, right? We can agree on that?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't think Bradley Beal would re-sign with the Wizards either, though, and here we are again. So, anything can happen. But, I as of right now, I would expect that the Hawks are still trying to deal John Collins.
Okay. Any other moves that happened today that surprised you? Anything you want to talk about?
I don't know if anything really surprised me. I mean, a lot of guys ended up just re-signing with their former teams or the team they played for last season, right? There felt like a lot of that all day long, when maybe you kind of were expecting to see bigger name guys leave and go somewhere else, like Bobby Portis, for example. I thought maybe he would get a bigger deal somewhere else. He ends up deciding to stay. So I'm not really so surprised, I would say, by anything that's happened yet. The PJ Tucker move, again, do I think that's surprising? No, he's going to a team that has a chance to win. They need, the same type of addition from him that Miami was looking to get from him last year. So it makes a lot of sense. Maybe the thing I'm most surprised about is that Jalen Brunson is the guy that gets $200 million contract offers over anybody else.
It's pretty wild. It is really, really wild. And, when I was watching NBA TV earlier today, they were talking about, the fact that the Bucks and I think, or was it the Bulls in the Heat, lost draft picks this season, second-round draft picks due to, collusion or talking to players early, stuff like that, tampering, whatever the word is. It's weird that, as soon as we hit free agency, all of a sudden these deals are announced, right? Yeah. It's like, oh my God, Jalen Brunson to the Knicks. It's going to happen. Is this tampering? How could this not be tampering? And the last thing I saw was he's equipped with a $106 million offer from the Mavericks heading to New York to meet with them.
Right.
If you're the Mavericks, why the hell are you doing this?
That was after it was reported that the Mavericks weren't going to even offer him anything because it was a foregone conclusion that he was signing with the New York Knicks. So, but
Weird.
Even all of that, I still love what the Mavericks are doing. They signed Javel Mcgee here to I think it's a 3-year deal, $20 million, which is, real reasonable in terms of money. I think the Mavericks are still set up to be a really great team next year.
Yeah. Jay Drew's got a good point here, along with Patrick, and that's Marvin Bagley re-signing with the Pistons. 3 years, $37 million. What are your thoughts on that deal? And Marvin's getting paid here. Not as much as his counterparts, but he's still getting paid.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised to see this. Detroit was a team that, had been linked to him or wanting him for a while, and they finally got him at the end of the trade deadline last year, and now they don't have too many other options currently at power forward.
Yeah.
So why not take a chance on him with the rest of this super young roster to see if he continues to get a little bit better? I think it makes sense.
I mean, there's a minimum salary cap, right? So they got to get somewhere. They're not paying many guys.
No,
they have
they're
a
not.
bunch of young guys on their roster. But yeah, good for Marvin Bagley. I continue to root for him. The dude just has to stay healthy, right? Anything else you expect for the Kings? Any other moves you expect them to make today? I know a few guys that I had mentioned, like targets like PJ Tucker are officially gone.
Yeah.
But anybody else?
Gary Harris is also now gone.
Yeah, you're looking that maybe the Kings could add here?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few people, but again, I think a lot of it right now hinges on, are they going to make some type of deal that brings in another starter to this team, like John Collins, who just, we're going to keep saying that name until we find out that it's not going to happen or that it does.
Yeah.
So, they're running the risk now that we've officially entered the moratorium, of losing out on a lot of these other potential players that they could be signing, because people are just getting bought up really quick. That's how it always goes. And the question, I think, if you're Monte McNair, is how long do you wait, to try to get a deal done for somebody on Collins's level before you're like, okay, we have to cover our losses and start signing some of these guys that are still available.
Yeah, and the Hawks, they just lost Delon Wright as well, so they're losing multiple guards to the Washington Wizards. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. The Kings, they got their free agent prize, I guess, in Malik Monk. They need to attack the 4 position. They need to bring in another big name. I think it will end up being John Collins. And then you just got to fill out the rest of the roster, and there's not a lot of roster spots left.
No, I mean, they've already, retained Trey Lyles and Chimezie Metu, right? So those are 2 power forwards right there. That's why I'm a little worried right now, because it feels like the Kings are making moves.
Yep.
But I don't know that they're moves that are going to significantly improve the team in terms of number of wins next season.
Yeah, and to be clear, Jeremy Lamb is officially off the roster. Josh Jackson is off the roster. As of right now, DiVincenzo is off the roster, and Damian Jones. So, that's quite a few guys right there that you lose off the bat. You bring in one guy in Malik Monk, and then maybe a Harrison Barnes trade happens. Maybe we see a Rashaan Holmes trade happens. Or maybe Justin Holiday is thrown in as, a salary cap filler into a deal. But yeah, I don't think the Kings are done here. But I don't really see another big, free agency splash coming in.
No, we kind of talked about that before free agency started, and that there are a lot of quality players out there, but, not necessarily the huge franchise changing type players. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving becoming available, even though they're not free agents, is a different story. But that middle group of the class, there are guys like Oladipo, or were guys like Oladipo, TJ Warren, things like that. Guys who are really solid players, but they have injury concerns, or the question is, how much money do you actually offer them? Things like that. I wouldn't re-sign DeMarcus Cousins either. That's not a direction I would want to go. But it would be fun to have the all-Kentucky team.
What do you think happens with Kavon Looney? Didn't we hear some rumors about him? I thought I heard a rumor that he wanted to stay. Then I heard one saying he was unlikely to remain.
Yeah, I think they're all rumors at this point. I don't really know which way he's going to lean one way or the other.
I would love to bring Kavon to Sacramento, if possible. If he could be our backup center right behind, Sabonis, I'd be stoked on that. But is it possible?
What are you doing with Rashaan Holmes then?
I'm trading him in the deal for John Collins.
Okay.
I'm trading John Collins for Rashaan Holmes and Harrison Barnes, hopefully.
Probably going to have to take back somebody like Kevin Huerter then at that point too.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
So now we've got the all 6'4" shooting guard squad that does nothing but shoot.
Yeah.
Terrence Davis, Kevin Huerter, and Malik Monk.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There was times last season, Calvin, where we couldn't score for 5 minutes at a time. The shooting was not there.
They were in the top 10 in scoring for most of the season, and I think finished around like 12 or something like that. So scoring was not their problem last year.
Jesus says the Hawks want a first-round pick, too. I'm okay with protected first-round picks. I don't want to trade unprotected picks unless it's, a Bradley Beal or somebody like that, which is not possible at this point because we did see him re-sign with the Wizards. And did we call that? We were talking about that for a while, Bradley Beal. And
I think you called it. You've been saying the whole time that he was going to re-sign with them. I wasn't as sure, but I'm not. You can't be surprised by it because that's what he said and done every single time. So
we're I feel like we're so damaged by people that do the opposite of what they say that it's like when somebody says what they're going to do and then they do it, you're like, oh, wow, he did what he said he was going to do.
He's a man of his word.
That's so surprising. Oh, very interesting. All right, well, I want to remind everybody, while we're wrapping this up here, we are going to be live on Basketball at the Bar right after this in a few minutes. We're giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card, so make sure you guys join us there. Click the link here in the chat. We will be live on that channel in about 2 minutes. Calvin, any last words on what the Kings did today, what they will continue to do or anything like that?
It's a good start, but they still have their work cut out for them, I would say.
Yeah, got to make one more big move, Monty. That's what needs to happen. One more big move to get us over the hump. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you smash up that like button down below. Please hit that subscribe button and click on that link in the chat. We'll be live there in about 2 minutes. We're going to be talking about all the NBA moves. Today, we're going to be on Woj's Twitter account, breaking down every single one, giving our thoughts, our opinions. We'd love to hear from you all. And we finish that episode every time with Q&A, so we will be taking all of your guys' questions. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you all soon, and in the meantime, go Kings.